the Rays POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Tampa Bay Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Tampa Bay Rays POSTCAST, your spot for instant Rays reaction after every single game. My name is Jonathan Shields, and unfortunately, this was one of the more bizarre losses of the season for the Rays as they lose in extra innings. And as I put in the title, they got blown out in extra innings by the Miami Marlins. It was really unfortunate because it was another fantastic Nick Martinez start for the Rays. And we're going to be here to break it all down. We're going to look ahead and talk about how, the Rays still have a chance to win the series tomorrow, as disastrous of that top of the 10th inning was. We're going to talk about how Nick Martinez was just absolutely fantastic in this game. The offense showed up a little bit too little, too late. But first, we got to talk about, is it time to worry about the bullpen?
This is what you'll be talking about.
Nick Martinez tosses a gem. He does not allow any runs over 6 innings. And because of that, the Rays pass a 1-0 lead to their best bullpen arms. Clevenger, Kelly, and Baker have been the 3 best relievers for the Rays this year. Clevenger gives up a run. Look, it's really hard to beat a team 1-0. Then Baker gives up the run. And Baker gives up a run for the second consecutive game. And am I overly worried about the bullpen? I put it's time to worry about the bullpen. No, it's not time to worry about the bullpen. But I will say it is concerning how our top end guys, and this was the worry that the Rays high leverage guys aren't healthy or in the starting rotation now, and the Rays have kind of skidded by because the replacements have been so good. But with Baker and Clevenger both giving up runs back-to-back games for Baker, it's semi-concerning, but it's not full-fledged time to worry. Baker will be better. I guarantee you Baker will be better in his next start out, whether it's tomorrow, his next time out, whether that's tomorrow or whether that's Monday against Baltimore. But, the Rays, I think we've gotten a little bit spoiled by how ridiculous his bullpen was during that stretch, that this is, what every other team kind of has to deal with. Is the bullpen imploding now and then. I wouldn't even call this an implosion until Hunter Biggie, which we'll get to in a second. But it was more of, teams are going to score. It's really, they always say it on the broadcast and in the radio. It's hard to beat a team 1-0. And, the Rays were able to do that one other time this year, and they weren't able to do it today. But it's tough because Nick Martinez deserved to get another win for his performance today. He was fantastic. And a lot of that was on the offense. That 5th inning, when you have bases loaded for Jonathan Ronda, he's came up clutch so many times in that spot this year. But he couldn't do it. But him and Junior, blister 2 balls to get the score in extras. Extras always kind of funky. And we always talk about when the Rays are the away team, how you need to get 2 to feel comfortable. Well, the Marlins got 8 in the top of the 10th. I'm sure they felt really comfortable, and that's where we're going to get to our turning point of the game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Hunter Biggie's been another guy that's been fantastic for the Rays. And he just didn't have it today. He did not have it today. When you start walking guys, especially in extras, it's not going to bode well for you. Not to mention, a lot of his pitches ended up right in the middle of the plate. And obviously, it's not going to be quite the recipe for success. But again, I'm not overly worried about the bullpen. I'm slightly concerned because, yes, their pace that they were on during that stretch wasn't sustainable. But what is their floor going to be, right? What's going to be the average performance that they're going to put in? Is it going to be, a 2 ERA? Is it going to be a 5 ERA, right? We've seen both sides of it from almost every Rays pitcher this year. But obviously the 8th run, top the 10th was pretty brutal. So, look, the Marlins went on that stretch last year, and they were really good during that stretch. The Marlins this year, they still have all that same talent, right? The Rays, I thought, have done a great job limiting what is a pretty good Marlins offense. And then we talked about how good Sandy's been this year. He's not quite Cy Young Sandy from a few years ago, but he's an all-star, an established all-star pitcher. And he showed that today. The Rays only able to get scraps against him. Not even an earned run because of all the errors that the Marlins have. Marlins with 4 errors. Rays normally punish teams when they make those kinds of errors. They just couldn't punish the Marlins today with those kinds of errors. But let's go ahead and talk about Nick Martinez before we get to the offense, because he was most definitely our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
And that would be Nick Martinez, who, again, 6 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned. Nick Martinez, over his last 5 outings now, has only allowed 3 runs. That is ridiculous. If the season ended today, Nick Martinez would be an all-star. If the season ended today, Nick Martinez should be the American League Cy Young. That's how good he's been. And, remember the spring training that he had? It was awful. But look at him now. That's what we talked about. Don't put too much stock into the spring training numbers. For pitchers especially. But Nick Martinez, we talked about it, was the highest paid guy on the team. And we were like, okay, he's got to produce like it. He's done way more than that. I mean, I am shocked by how good Nick Martinez is. On top of that, he's an all-world locker room guy. Everyone in the locker room loves him. Everywhere he's been, everyone's loved him. He's one of the main reasons why I think this team is a lot closer together, which goes into a lot of their wins this year. Another guy that continues to be just electric is Kevin Kelly, because Kevin Kelly was very bad last year. Let's just be frank about it. This year he's been just strictly nails. So yeah, it's frustrating the way that extras turned out. I didn't think the Rays necessarily deserved to win the game. So this isn't a game where we talked about last year. There's still games that are burned into my mind, whether it's the game in Boston with the 2-run walk-off, or one of the games in Seattle when the Rays were going on that run late in the year. This was a game where I didn't feel like the Rays, quote unquote, deserved to win. And over 162 game season, you're going to do that. But the Rays' floor is still so high that they're in these games. One, because the Rays defensively today were fantastic. How about that play Junior made? What was it, in the 5th inning, saving a run? And then because we've talked about the Rays' floor is going to keep them in games, is going to not really allow them to go on long losing spells. At least that's what I keep telling myself as a Rays fan, to avoid that. It seems like what it is, an inevitable July implosion. But I think what I'm saying is accurate, that the Rays' floor is just so high that it's going to be very hard for them to have an implosion like that. But we're a long way from talking about that. But we are going to talk about the offense and how they finally did produce, but it was a little bit too little, too late. I want to talk about what the Rays need to do to come out with the series win tomorrow, right after this. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get 150 in bonus bets as your first bet wins. That's right. Turn $5 into 150 in bonus bets just for getting started. I like using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right there in one place. And you guys, when you go on FanDuel, you can do a bunch of different bets. You can do a same-game parlay. You can do some futures bets. If you think the Bucks are going to win the Super Bowl because the schedule just came out, you can go on FanDuel and place that bet right now. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. This episode is also brought to you by Rocket Money. If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast. That's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks all your subscriptions all in one spot. It can help you cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. And it just makes everything feel more organized and a clearer picture on your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And lastly, this episode is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill sitting open. When the pressure is on to make sure you get the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumble across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, there has been companies like yours that have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And right now, listeners of the show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help and get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? That's the job for Indeed sponsored jobs. So, everyone, if you guys are in the live, please make sure to leave a like and comment in what was a very rough game for our beloved Tampa Bay Rays, specifically in extra innings. And let's talk about the offense, because they finally started to produce, but it was a little bit too little too late for them. So, Chandler Simpson did get the RBI single in that third inning, an under-earned run charge to Sandy, but then it would go silent, and the Rays really didn't have any threatening innings except for the fifth inning when Aranda could not get it done there. But in the ninth, big Nick Fortes. We saw Pete Fairbanks blow a lot of saves last year. Blows another one today for the Marlins. I'm a big Pete fan, so I'm not going to come on here and bash him. I'm actually a pretty huge Pete fan. But we saw that story a few times last year. So Nick Fortes does a job, hit that ball extremely hard right in the right spot. The Rays tied the game, and we've seen this so many times with the Rays. We just wait for them to come back. They do, and they win in extras. And then it was like they got hit in the face with a boulder in extras, as the Marlins put up an 8th spot, and then the Rays put up 3. If the bullpen would have done its job right there, the Rays would have won the game. And that was kind of the synopsis of the game. If the bullpen does its job, the Rays would have won this game. But the bullpen has been so good, you can't really immediately say, oh my gosh, the bullpen's the reason why we lost, because the bullpen's been a main reason why the Rays have won a lot of games during this stretch. So let's look ahead to the game tomorrow. It's a 12:15 start on Peacock. Very interesting on Peacock. So it's going to be Brian Anderson and the Marlins TV announcer on Peacock. So an interesting thing they do. And the Rays will be going up against Yuri Perez for the Marlins. Perez is 2-5 with almost a 5 ERA. He struggled his last 2 times out. 5 earned against Baltimore, 3 earned against Minnesota. A little bit better that time out. A big strikeout guy, already 53 strikeouts on the year. Young pitcher, though, only 23 years old, just turned 23. It was in the majors the last 2 years. Last year had a 4.25 ERA, so a talented young pitcher. But the Rays have to feel good about who they got going to the mound, because they got Drew Rasmussen going for the mound. And I said this last time, and Drew was really good doing a win against against Toronto. But Drew is due for one of the 6 innings, only one earned outing that we've seen grown Sona Cups into with Rasmussen. So his whip this year is still under 1, which is preposterous for a starter. That's ridiculously good. So Rays have to feel good about winning the series with their ace, one of their many aces that they've had this year, going toward on the mound. So let's go to Gary as we get to the comments here. If you guys are in the live, please make sure to leave a like and comment. He goes, difficult 10th inning to watch. Thought it was a bad sign when the Rays didn't add on their 1-0 lead today. Came back to bite them. I think Martinez pitched well enough to win. Sandy Alacantra too. Yeah, that's that's a good synopsis of it. As we go again to a lot of Brian in here. So shout out Brian, the Marlins fan that's in here, saying he gives some love to the Rays. I appreciate that. As we will go to our Genius, he says, one step at a time. We're rooting for this team to sustain the level throughout the entire season. Yeah, I agree. No one's freaking out over this loss, right? It's if stuff in this loss continues, and we've talked about this throughout the losses that the Rays have had this year. How would they respond through those losses? And every single time the Rays have lost during this stretch, they've responded with a resounding performance. Yesterday against the Marlins was a great example of that, after losing a really tough one in extras. So I'll be really interested to see how the Rays respond tomorrow with their ace going up on the hill, and you still have a chance to win the series. So I think, again, the Rays have scored first in both games. I always think that's important, because the Rays' record when they're scoring first has been fantastic this year. But the Rays are still set up very nicely to go into the Orioles series in the back half of this brutal stretch against the AL East on a high note. So let me, guys, in case you guys forgot, let's break down this next stretch for the Rays, because they went through the first stretch against the AL East and passed with flying colors. So now they get this little break against the division against the Marlins, and then they're right back to it their next 3 series. First, Baltimore in New York next Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those are 3 huge games. Those pitching matchups are already out. We'll talk about those tomorrow. And then they go to Baltimore for the first time this year. And so, look, we talked about it for about over a month now. This first stretch in May was going to be one of the toughest of the Rays season, in terms of a lot of their divisional opponents are sandwiched in together. And the Rays have done a really good job against the division, kind of a historic job against the division so far. So, let's hope that continues in this stretch. But it all starts with a win tomorrow against the Marlins in the wrap-up game of this series. So I will be right here to talk it down with you guys, break it all down with you guys right after. Remember, 12:15 first pitch will be the first game of the day. You'll be watching the Rays while maybe some of you guys eating breakfast. So one of the early starts of the year for the Rays. We'll be here right after to break it all down. Make sure you guys do leave a like. And if you're new, please subscribe. It helps us out a ton. And we'll be right back tomorrow, hopefully talking about another Rays win. See you guys then.